from Juba, on air and online.
This is iRadio News.
Hello, this is iRadio 1 o'clock news. First, here are the headlines. SPLM-IO lawmakers have resumed parliamentary duties days after the presidency urged them to call off their 2-month strike. The National Police Service says the major highway of the country is secured from armed bandits following the incident at the Juba-Nimule Road. And the civil society activist is calling for a national conference that draws South Sudanese economists to find solutions to the economic crisis. These stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Lugala Mulai, and now the news in detail. SPLM-IO lawmakers have announced they have resumed parliamentary duties days after the president urged them to call off their 2-month strike. This is according to Neal Ball, who is the chairperson of the Livestock and Fisheries Committee at the August House. Last week, the presidency tasked the Speaker of the Revitalized Transitional National Legislative Assembly to resolve the contentious issues that compelled SPLM-IO lawmakers to boycott parliamentary sittings in recent months. The main opposition lawmakers have stayed out of parliament for nearly 2 months now after the Legislative Assembly enacted the Political Parties Act. They claim the amendment was passed without a consensus. The act stipulates that for a political party to be registered, it must have at least 500 members from each of the 10 states, yet others propose just 300 members. It also states that the budget allocation for political parties shall be passed on the outcome of the general election. Weeks after the stalemate, the Revitalized Transitional National Legislative Assembly Speaker referred the matter to the presidency for resolution. But in a meeting last week, President Salva Kiir directed the House Speaker to handle the matter, according to the spokesperson of Vice President Dr. Riek Machar. Both said Kiir and Machar agreed that the enactment of Political Parties Act was not based on consensus, but rather on a power-driven majority. Speaking to iRadio this morning, Mr. Neal Ball said they have returned to resume sittings. He said the parliament has already put a mechanism to resolve the issue which prompted their boycott for 2 months ago.
Yeah, we are now in the parliament. This issue will be resolved to Right Honorable Speaker to resolve this issue, and we have a mechanism of resolving it. So all the laws that have been passed will come back to the parliament. Yeah, I'm now in my office. My message is that the people of South Sudan should own this agreement. This is the only hope for the people of South Sudan. Nobody is allowed to violate it.
The National Parliament is composed of 332 SPLM-IG members, 128 SPLM-IO members, 50 SOA members, 30 other political party members, and 10 former detainee members. The National Police Service says the major highways of the country are secured from armed bandits following the incident at Juba-Nimule Road. The police spokesperson, Major General Daniel Justin, says security forces have beefed up patrol along the highway and are providing escorts to the travelers. General Justin said the measures were adopted after last week's fatal ambush on a convoy of passenger vehicles. Witness says 7 people were killed and a dozen others wounded, a figure the National Army disputed. Speaking to iRadio over the weekend, the police official said the highway is constantly being monitored.
The road is actually being monitored. We have forces on the ground, and at the same time, we escort the vehicles from Juba to Numile and from Numile to Juba. But sometimes we are appealing to the driver to cooperate with our forces, because sometimes they decide to travel without our consent. Because if they inform us that they are traveling, then we will alert our forces on the ground that there are vehicles traveling, then they will be there to monitor them. So, but generally after the incident, the road was accessible after like 2 hours. The vehicles were moving, all our forces came to the side, and then they were following the footsteps of the criminals. Now, currently, the situation is normal. Just the same from that day up to now, there is nothing on the road.
A South Sudanese chief in Western Turkana in Kenya says some Kenyan police officers have beaten to death a 17-year-old refugee. Papa Charles, the chief of Level 9 and 14 in Kalobey refugee settlement camp, says late John Imatari, who was watching Premier League games with his peers on Saturday when some Kenyan police confronted them. Upon seeing danger, the boys reportedly fled, but Imatari was caught by the police after he fell down. The unnamed police officers instantly beat him up, causing his death. Chief Charles narrated what happened to iRadio this morning.
de hagiga ano be wallet ka flow alon bare mun kan ro be ajere be mal ta ta video mun ro aino ajere kura yala mina polisia jambe ne ka kuma arabata arba ale mun digo wala del biga ya o wala del je wallet waga te mun je to ale dugu wallet la ga mun ka to mun tilo le ne jera kan wale malo mun dibo wallet kida al biga mun kala
The motive of the attack is unclear. However, Chief Charles called on the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees to intervene onto the matter. He also appealed to the UNHCR to relocate his people from the current place to a favorable settlement area, saying the area is experiencing insecurity from host community. iRadio could not independently verify the allegations. You are listening to iRadio News. The Secretary General of the African People's Congress, APC, is calling for the release of the party chairman who is being held in police custody in Juba. Ton Dierngor says the APC leader Deng Bill William was picked up on Wednesday night from his residence in Jebel by men in plain clothes and taken to an unknown location before he was dropped at Melekia police station the following afternoon. He said Deng Bill He said that Deng Bill was first tortured before being handed to the police.
Following the extension of the government of business, and then the following Friday, that is where we come out with our opposition paper, rejecting the traditional government to extend it as APC Central Command. And then there was a protest on Sunday that was being led by some of the youth, the civil society. They released, they made the protest, more protest in California, just show them some sort of solidarity. My chairperson, through his social media force, extended solidarity and condemned and asked the government to release them unconditionally. And that now was met by the security apparatus coming to the house of actually 10. The security apparatus just came and picked him up at 10 p.m. exactly at night. Leaving in his residence, they were coming in non-uniforms and were driving a numberless car and two motorbikes. So he was picked up and he was tortured in an unknown location and later on brought to Malakia police station. After he was seriously tortured.
The motive of Deng Bill's arrest is unclear. However, Thorn hinted Mr. Deng Bill had criticized the extension of the transitional period and expressed solidarity with demonstrators who protested the rise in commodity prices at the Konyo market last Sunday. Thorn has also accused the security apparatus of constraining space for a political actor to express themselves freely as required by the interim constitution. He now appeals for the release of the party leader.
People are talking about political space, but why are you arresting the leaders of political parties that are actually engaged in, they're not using arms, they're non-violent political actors, and it is the right to express. So we are still demanding his release, and after his release, we will take a legal procedure to bring to book those who arrest our chairperson.
Meanwhile, the National Police spokesperson, Major General Daniel Justin, confirmed the arrest of the dismissed Juba University turned politician, saying he is under investigation. He, however, denied allegation APC leader Deng Bill William was tortured.
So far, I'm confirming the arrest, and then the investigation is going on. Because if I talk to you about what the problem is, my investigation will fail. So I'm just confirming that. See, the investigation may lead people got involved and they were not arrested. So they have to be brought in such that they are investigated, whether the claim is true or not. So at night, because sometimes you get people that are not in the house during the day. We monitor you and then you are arrested. It is normal. Don't have an idea about this, but perhaps you don't think so. You are shown your warrant of arrest, you are needed, you read it and then you go with us. But unless you resist, this is where we will use force to make sure that you are arrested.
Finally, before moving to stories making headlines in the region and the international scene, a civil society activist is calling for a national conference that draws South Sudanese economists to find solutions to the economic crisis. Edmond Yakani, the executive director of Community Empowerment for Progress organization, says having the experts on board can help the government find a long-term solution to the deteriorating economy of the country. South Sudan is currently grappling with inflation and skyrocketing commodity prices. The local currency has depreciated to a record high, leaving families struggling to survive. Early this month, President Salva Kiir directed the new Minister of Finance and Planning, Dier Tong, to fix the economy. However, economists urge that the factors hindering economic recovery include lack of diversified economy has seen in the high prices of basic commodities. Speaking to the Dawn today, Edmond Yakeni believes that conducting a national economic conference can help design a roadmap for both the Ministry of Finance and Planning and the Central Bank.
You need to take economical professional decisions. Don't hurry, don't politicize it. And that's why I'm somebody who's calling upon, if people are listening to me, and if this message reach the president, there's a need for us to call for national economical conference. Not for everybody. This national economical conference will bring the economic experts of this country from our academic institutions. We have quite a number of them. Juba University, Upper Nile University, Barghazal University. Call them and let them inform you. But don't make it like the Economical Crisis Management Committee. Because when the Economic Crisis Management Committee become another crisis on economy. Their cost of expenses, the way they made, even their trips. So I require the new Minister of Finance and the Central Bank to constitute that National Economic Conference. Not for people who are going to gamble, no. Bring the professionals, even if you mean 7 people. Sit, scrutinize the situation, and look at our status. This requires at least the political leadership to allow the professional in the economic sector. So we don't need to politicize solutions to economic crisis.
You are listening to iRadio News. Now to stories making headlines in the region and the international scene. Brought to you by MTN. Here is Susan.
Aku, hana magi safir, hana gifiri suma hal tahwilu gurus, sante de malian gurus, gubal mujrima maligana, handira sul gurus fi wilayat.
Italy sa wara zede, Italy sa vitap ta jere rasul gurus, gubudu gurus fi senta. Ite maruf gali MTN jibulen na momo fi belede.
Aku, momo de biga sunu kaman, besara na kef zado.
Momo de MTN mobile money. Be MTN mobile money de, ite bak de rafi su gurus taki de kulu fi jo telefon take. Wite bak de rasul le ay zone, alindo account MTN mobile money de fi ay zaman, u fi ay waqt dalta der. Ashanta fi fata hisab ma momo MTN mobile money, lazim kelta dusu, nejma, 200 selim, wite bilgo ke tirmin malumat al bisaidi ta kefita fi fata hisab taki.
And now to the stories making headlines in the region and in the international scene. There is growing anticipation that the much-awaited results of the last week's Kenya presidential election will be known today. Decks being used for the results verification process have been cleared and the National Tallying Center is being prepared for the declaration. Deputy President William Ruto has a narrow lead over ex-Prime Minister Raila Odinga in the latest count. According to Kenyan law, the results must be announced by 16th August. Elsewhere, rights groups in Burkina Faso have accused the army of killing more than 40 people in the north of the country. The Collective Against Impunity and Stigmatization of Communities say there had been many cases of kidnapping followed by summary accusations. It said the victims' bodies had been found on the road between Tafogo and Buro, blindfolded with their hands tied. Another rights group, the Observatory of Human Dignity, said most of the victims were Fulani, a mainly Muslim ethnic group of semi-nomadic herders. Burkina Faso's military has been denied repeated accusations of right abuses. And finally, Ukrainian artillery has struck a headquarters of Russia's Sadoy Wagner paramilitary group of mercenaries in eastern Ukraine, report says. The attack in Popasna was reported by Serhiy Haidai, Ukrainian governor of Luhansk region, and several Kremlin war reports. The number of casualties is not clear and details remain sketchy. Photos say to show the damage were posted on the Telegram messaging service. Wangda has been linked to war crimes. There is the end of stories making headlines in the region and in the international scene.
Thank you very much, Suzanne, for taking us through what is making headlines in the region and the international scene. Now to the world of sports. Here is Jacob Moyle.
Good afternoon, Lugala Mulai. Now let us start with the local sports. South Sudan Basketball Federation has announced MTN South Sudan as the official sponsor of the national team for a 3-year term. The move has been announced after South Sudan basketball national team men made historical victories in the recent Afro basketball tournament in Rwanda. Meanwhile, in the upcoming stage, South Sudan was drawn in Group F alongside the host nation Tunisia, Egypt, DR Congo, Senegal, and Cameroon. South Sudan, Senegal, and Egypt will be the big games of the first day of the fourth window of the group on 26 August in Tunisia. According to the statement seen by iRadio, the multi-year partnership will include the MTN logo visibly featured on game uniforms, sports image rights for advertising, and local brand activations. The playing kit of the team would be branded with MTN's new financial services product, Mobile Money from MTN, Momo from MTN. Elsewhere, Hurricanes equalized at 6 minutes into stoppage time, and Tottenham made dramatic draw as a very London derby at Stamford Bridge ended in an angry confrontation between Thomas Tuchel and Antonio Conte that resulted in red cards for both managers. Tempers were running high throughout as Chelsea twice led before Kane's glancing header, seconds from the end, gave Spurs a point. Chelsea were furious that referee Anthony Taylor had failed to penalize Rodrigo Bentancur for a challenge on Kai Havertz. The ensuing melee leading to face-to-face fury between the two managers, which ended with both Chelsea boss Tuchel and Spurs counterpart Conte receiving yellow cards. And finally, Real Madrid opened their La Liga title defense with a hard-fought victory as they came from a goal down to beat Almeria. Former Manchester United striker Laji Ramasani fired Almeria into a shock lead after just 6 minutes. Home goalkeeper Fernando Martinez made a series of saves to frustrate Real before Lucas Vazquez leveled. David Alaba struck the winner from a free kick with his first touch after coming off the bench. End of the sports news, and back to you, Lugala Mulai, in the studio.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mayor Jacob, for taking us through what is making headlines in the world of sports. You are listening to iRadio News, and to end this bulletin, here are the headlines once again. SPLM-IO lawmakers have resumed parliamentary duties days after the presidency urged them to call off their 2-month strike. The National Police Service says the major highway of the country is secured from armed bandits following the incident at Juba-Nimule Road. And a civil society activist is calling for a national conference that draws South Sudanese economists to find solution to the economy. That is the end of iRadio Afternoon News. If there's a story or an event you'd like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message on +211 925 287 870. It's also our WhatsApp number. Follow us on Twitter at iRadio Juba. Like our Facebook page, iRadio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at iRadio South Sudan. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for the news in Arabic at 1:30. I had been Lugala Mulai. Thanks for listening.